in Kings Highway.
Kingsway.
20 shows around Marine Park. Started.
Have you visited the Marine Park?
Something big.
It's on the border.
Edge.
David, I bought you a pizza. It's in the thing.
Very nice.
You want pizza?
And tomorrow night of the shul, Gustav is where?
Right here on Boretsky Hall.
Nice.
Yeah, but there they had eating cakes, there's a singer, they're big. My daughter went, she wanted me to go with them.
It was nice.
Yeah, I said, no, I come to the show here.
So she's still
Right
there?
now. Right now.
It's
She's
this
still
one.
there?
Yeah,
Where is it located?
Kings Highway in Nostra.
Mm.
It's a big shoot, big hall for weddings, for this.
Yeah. Big island?
Yeah, it used to be big because he's telling you that 20 shoots participate.
The newspaper FJJ had the whole page in the back.
Oh, wow.
That itself is like $1,700.
Mm. And I know that.
No, they advertise.
Same.
I think in the Jewish press also there. I think so. So another place.
Okay, so I guess the oilam is there.
Okay. We are the lucky one. That we here.
And the story with a good thing in Australia where the Rabbi told him to go speak for Tachum Mishpacha, to print and everything. You know, another story. The father, another son. And this one lady came. He was so upset. He thought they'd have it if he for a whole wall and everything, you know, it's money, printing, preparing it. So they asked him how many Mother Moshe Rabbeinu had. And they're having one person is big. It's not like
Amen.
asking the shul over here on Shabbos if everybody should put in his WhatsApp. So, you know.
It was very important not to use my computer for the video. Mine,
Okay.
which I'm not so clever. I need to know the Wi-Fi there. Need to know the Wi-Fi connection, and we need to know.
It's probably weak. It's probably weak.
Well, we have some way to plug it in.
I
Man.
mean,
Might better just record it in.
exactly.
I mean, I don't know. We have a camera for the piano show.
I know, but you need somebody to set it up and plug it and all this.
And that's got they have to be able to plug it, the battery for the 3 hours.
No.
קיצור, נתנו לה לינק, ואמרו לה תעשי את החודשיים.
No, I mean, somebody can put a cell phone.
היו לי.
Somebody can record it by cell phone. That's not a problem.
החבר שלה 500, חבר שלנו, הכהן הזה, העורך דין, הפסק לה עוד 180 עוד, יש לה כבר 1,000.
Okay, Rabbi say
אם יש 5 דקות מספיק יסע לערוץ הזה?
we're holding Simon Nun Gimel. Sifchas.
פייג' ק"ג.
חייג.
Okay, so Rabbi say till now, let's recap what we learned. We learned that Chachamim forbade leaving a pot on the fire out of Shabbos, L'tzairich Friday night or L'tzairich Shabbos day, if the pot was not yet Michoel ben Drusoi, did not yet reach the state of Michoel ben Drusoi.
How long would that take?
That is that the food is that was the name. Ben Drusoi was a name
halfway
of a robber.
right, halfway mutual.
And even he would not eat his food fully cooked. And if you would put it up there and it's as long as it's at least Michoel ben Drusoi, halfway cooked.
Right?
So you would have an issue
It's really
if the kira was heated up with wood and with gefes, eitzim. However, if the kira was heated up with kash and gavava, We said that there would be no chash. What is the chash over here? It's called Shema Yichata. Maybe perhaps you will be stoke the fire. Very common, you know, the fire, they have a special stick to stoke the fire. And you would stoke the fire to make sure your food will be ready for the meal.
Right.
So now the Alter Rebbe explained there's other ways how you could be permissible. Is grufa k'tuma. Grufa means what it meant then was to shovel out the coals out of the oven, and then you close the door and you kept the heat in there to help cook the pat or keep it warm. So that case, we're not concerned because you shovel out the coals. There's nothing really to be mechateh.
Really keep it warm.
No, today we have a computerized, automated, artificial intelligent Shabbos oven.
Thank you.
Supposed to know what's the concept.
And that's grufa, right? We're discussing how it was in those days, and ketuma was where you sprinkle a layer of ashes over the fire, all the parts of the fire, not only where the pot is going to sit, but also the coals where the pot's not going to be sitting on. It could be a very thin layer, and that is a way of showing that you're masiach das from the fire, that you should not be mechata, like make a recognition for yourself, not to come to mechata. So if it's gufa ketuma or if it's ma'achad d'sai, you're allowed to leave it on the fire erev Shabbos. Now we're going to learn about a new heter in Sivches. So we're on page Kufyud Gimel, simulation Gimel Sivches. We're called Zekeshikar Hischol Zbashim Bo'idyoim. Lo Shadayim Zbashim K'ma'achad d'sai. When is this an issue? When it started to cook, but it's not yet ma'achad d'sai. Then we have a problem, and the only way you could put it on is if it's gufa ketuma. Aval, however, if the food is totally raw, mutter litnoi, you're allowed to put it. Afilu b'toich hataner, even in the oven, which we explained that a tanner is more chomer than a kira last week. It's more hotter. Shehusa begefes ve'etzim, even if it was heated up with wood, ve'eni got for cotton, not got for cotton. Ve'in choishin neshama yichata b'Shabbos. So you're not concerned that the meat will be ready for
You don't need it and Friday night in other way.
for Shabbos. Why? So it explains like this. Kivan the achshabu chayhu.
Flush meat.
Kivan the achshabu chay, hu mesiach daiti mimenu ad l'mocher. Shabalayla lo yiro yadayin afi michata b'gecholim. B'chol halayla ad l'mocher yuchol v'zbash shapalechitikal. If you put a raw piece of meat up right before Shabbos, there's no concern, says the Alter Rebbe. This is a Gemara on Daf Kufyud Ches in Shabbos. Since now it is raw, so it's not going to be ready for the night meal. And for the day meal, it will anyways be ready for the day meal. So there's nothing to be concerned about.
But I have a problem with this.
Yeah.
He knows for a fact that this meat going to be cooked on Shabbos. Even though he put it before Shabbos.
It's true, but he put it in raw.
No, here he said he's not thinking about it,
Right.
even in sleep.
The only problem is
Nicole Markin.
he's going to eat it on Friday night. Here, you know for sure he's not going to eat it Friday night. He's not going to touch it.
But you know it's cooking in Shabbat.
Yeah, but he doesn't do nothing.
If you put it up before Shabbos,
Yeah.
even if it's cooking, is not a problem. The problem is
Why is not a problem?
because you did it before. It happened on its own.
But you know that it's
Your
going to
lights
be
are
cooked.
on Shabbos, it's not a problem. You can have your pot cooking for you on Shabbos. The problem
That's
is
why we have a blech.
that we're talking without a blech. Good question. Now, with the problem is that maybe you will come and play around with the knobs.
That's what they're afraid.
So he said, Shema yichate begecholim. Chitui hagecholim. So he says, if it's a raw piece of meat, what's they really worried about? Friday night meal, it's not going to be ready in those ovens. And in the morning, it will anyways be ready. So either way, there's no point. Still in all, one needs to be put it right next to Shkia. If you put it during the day, it already gets cooked a little bit before Shabbos, and then then you need to remove it from the fire when it comes dark. Unless it's already going to be cooked.
Slow cooker, you like?
Now,
Slow cooker. You know that?
yes. 1 second. I'm going to get to the modern day application. Good question.
You know,
So you're
it's
saying here that raw piece of meat, this heter only applies if you put up right before Shabbos. If you put up earlier and it starts to cook a little bit before, and it's not yet Michoel l'soy, you have to remove it from the fire before Shabbos. However, if it's Michoel l'soy, then it's not a problem. He says in the last line, since it's already cooked halfway, so we're not worried already because it already cooked enough, but it will have enough time to cook. As well, certain people eat it in certain situations, will eat a meat if it's not fully cooked.
True.
This is all in raw meat. Which will not cook for the night. It won't be ready. Meat is tough. But raw vegetables, similar items. Also, it's also to leave it on the fire unless it was cooked on
Skip the last, no, but
You're right. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Wow. The third line. What happens if the pot already started to cook, but you threw in right before Shkia, you take in a piece and you threw in another piece, a raw piece. That makes it as if the whole pot is as if it's all full of raw meat and it'll be permitted without any other heterim. Not Michoel l'soy, it's not Grufa Ketumah, no Blech. Through that piece of meat, you are Mesiach Das from the whole pot. All this is by raw meat. Which will not be ready for the evening. Raw vegetables, similar foods. Even though it's raw now, vegetables won't take a long time to cook. And you're not going to be Mesiach Das till the next day. So basically, to talk outside and to make it practical, Chazal, besides for the heter of Michoel l'soy by Shia, and for Grufa or Ketuma, which today would be the Blech, they gave a third heter, which is called Basar Chai. If you put a raw piece of meat, Samach l'knisas Shabbos mamish, right before Shabbos, you put in a pot of raw meat or even a pot of vegetables, and you threw in a raw piece of meat, right, that did not yet cook before Shabbos, we allow you to do that. Why? Logic behind this is we are not, the whole concern over here is Shemi Yechata, maybe you will stoke the fire. Play around with the fire. There's no reason for you to do that because this meat will not be ready for the night meal. It's tough meat. It takes time to cook. The morning, it will anyways be ready for Shabbos morning if you need it for Shabbos morning. So you're not going to anyways be mechata. So you're not going to play around with the fire. Chazal, we're not choishish when you put basar chai.
That's like children.
Modern day poskim bring out that this heter does not apply the same way anymore. Because it's not the case with our gas stoves and ovens. Raw meat will be ready for the evening meal.
You could use tenderizer.
Tenderizer?
There's tenderizer power.
And what does that mean?
It
It's
tenderizes the meat.
enzymes.
Yeah.
I think it softens it.
Right, and the children.
It's a powder?
That's the
Yeah,
power.
right.
Healthy?
No, I don't.
You put a
That
lot
you
of-
don't, but you're a pharmacist.
How do I like to put a lot of pieces of meat? Or it doesn't make difference?
Yeah?
Like,
Much meat as you want.
we do it with the children, the uncle, make the whole thing ready, and just before Shabbos, you put the meat.
He's right. He knows the halacha.
Yeah, it's good.
So what the paskim say like this: today, in general, it does not apply because you could put up raw meat an hour or two before a meal; it'll be ready. Not a problem. So we don't really. This is an issue that they faced. Chazal faced in their ovens. This was something that would have been a heter. In our ovens, the poskim say it only applies to slow cookers, like you were asking. Crackpot slow cookers will not be ready if you put it up right before Shabbos. Takes a lot of hours for slow
Lot of
cookers to
hours.
cook,
You need 10, 15 hours.
so it takes a long time. Not going to be ready for Friday night meal. And Shabbos day meal, it definitely be ready anyways. So there's no reason to touch the fire. You leave it the way it is, and that's it. So if you want to put in meat, I'm making a fleisha gechalent. You want to put it up right before Shabbos, you don't need any blech, you don't need Michoel b'soy, you could use this heter.
Some people pull off the knob.
You have no choice, you just pull off the knob. But in this case, you don't even need to do that. L'maisa, I many times do this. I don't actually have to rely on this because I have my crackpot lined with some silver foil, sort of like a blech. It's been there for many years, the silver foil, but it happens to be that I do put up the cholent right before Shabbos. So I'm putting in the...
Because the kid did the first one at Rosh Shabbos.
Oh, how you guessed. I cook it on the stove top for Shabbos, and the children eat it, and the parif, and then right before Shabbos, I transfer it into the crackpot and put in the meat in the kishka. So in the ending, I'm doing what it says here, that you put it right before Shabbos. So the poskim say, poiskis manenu say, this cannot be relied about and straight on a regular pot in the oven. You can't rely on this heter anymore. But slow cookers, you still have it. It's still legitimate heter.
How many years already the slow cooker? It's not too many years.
No, it's not too many years. It's probably 25, 30 years.
Yeah.
30 years maybe.
So what they did before that? They have to cook.
Well, they didn't. They would use blech. People use blech in general, you know. I'm just saying this is also an option. Let's say you're going away somewhere. People like sometimes they go away, they take their crackpot with them and they go away for Shabbos and they put it up. You get there right before Shabbos, you don't have a blech. You can plug it in. It's meat, a fleisha challenge right before Shabbos, no problem. You have the heter here, basur chai, sifches, reishon and gimel sifches.
Yeah.
Everyone agrees with this. This is a clear Gemara. Just today, the place can limit it to the slow cooker. Okay. Siftas, Rabbi say, page Kuf Yudalad. V'yei shafilu tafshin is bashal k'maychan desoy. I feel on his bashal called sarke. Al shahum mitztamek v'yafalei. There is a second opinion which we did not discuss until now. Until now, we said that if it's one of the heterim was if the food is Michoel desoy halfway cooked, you're good to go. No need for blech, no need for meat. It's Michoel desoy. However, on Sif test we learn there's another shita. In the Gemara, there's a machlekes between Rabbanan and Chananya. The Rabbanan Chananya holds Michoel desoy is enough. The Rabbanan say no, it's not enough. And here we learn that shita in Sif test. Yeshayim others say Shafilo Tashins Bashal K'Michoel desoy, even if it was Michoel desoy. Or Afilo, or even further, this Bashal Kotzarki, it's fully cooked.
Shrink.
It's good for it to sit on the fire more. And that a person is happy that the food is sitting on the fire more, getting more concentrated, shrinking. We are concerned, since it's only Michoel desoy, that you'll stoke the fire to hurry it up, the process, or even if it's fully cooked, you're going to stoke the fire that it should get more well cooked on the fire. Therefore, according to the Chachamim, has the same halachic status as if it were not Michoel desoy. You're not allowed to leave on the fire before Shabbos. They'll say this outside. Machloikis, it's the first few pages in Perek Kira and Shabbos, third Perek and Shabbos. My big Machloikis between Chananya and Chachamim. The Gemara discusses this for like 2 blat. Chananya held anything that's Meichel so you could leave on the fire of Shabbos. But Rabbanan held it has to be fully cooked, and it's detrimental to the food to leave it on. It's detrimental to the food to leave it on the fire. You're only leaving it because you want to keep it hot and warm, but you don't really want it for the taste of the food. Only then you're allowed to leave it on the fire if you don't have any other heter, like Grufa Ktuma Blech. Who is the halacha like? Kvar Nespashet Haminig Lahakol Kaswara Yishayna. This is from the Ramah. The Alter Rebbe is bringing from the Ramah that the minig has already been widespread to follow opinion. The first opinion of Chanai or Michoel, to leave it on the fire, even if it's just Michael Nasai. And it's not Gara for Kotum, it's a legitimate heter for itself. There's an interesting rush over here. The rush in the Sugi, one of the foremost Yishaynim, I the Usher, he says that he brings all the different proofs to Chananya's side, the proofs to Chachamim's side. He discusses the proofs from the Gemara to which side, which way do we follow the halacha? Which opinion do we follow the halacha? Not so clear from the Gemara. Every Rishon takes the Gemara and decides that these 2 blat has his rayas to follow his opinion, what way he feels the halacha is like. So the Rush says there's rayas this way, there's rayas like Chachamim, but the Rush concludes like this: Bishvil Yisrael adukim and mitzvah Shabbos. Yidden are very careful with the mitzvah of Einig Shabbos. They're not going to listen to us if we tell them to machmer. They can only leave it on the fire if it's fully cooked and it's mitzdamek veraloi. Means their food it's not going to taste as good. They're not going to listen. We're going to tell them you have to follow Chachamim. Therefore, Hanech lehen Yisrael. Leave them alone. Shanagu api Chananya, that they were noig api Chananya. So the minig over here in the sugya, the minig was keveya the halacha. Could be some Mishayim held that the ikar really should be like Chachamim, and some do follow that. The Rambam, the Ramban, the Rif, they held like Chacham Rabban. You have to be machmer. Other Mishayim Rashi Toises held like Chananya. Says the Rosh. Chazal, the Klal Yisrael takes very important the inyan of Einik Shabbos. They're not going to listen to us even if we tell them to be machmer. So leave them alone based on their minig, that they follow the more lenient opinion of Chananya. And this the Ramah brings in the Shulchan Aruch that the minig is like Chananya. The Alter Rebbe brings it. The Mishabrurin in his Bir Halacha points out from the language of the Rosh, V'lo yishma lahachmer is mashma the really be'etzem. It's really kedai to be machmer. Just they wouldn't listen, so it's better if you could to be machmer.
This Hananya is Hananya ben Akashya?
I don't think so. No, that's Rabbi Hananya. This is Hananya plain. No, Rabbi Hananya. He was one of the Tanoim.
Something else. In Kiddushim,
I don't think so, but maybe I'm wrong.
In Kiddushim, we have a warmer. Now, all the food has to be cooked, putting inside the warmer. You cannot add nothing. You know, they have warmer, you put like shells, and they heat. Every shul has it. There, you cannot add anything. The rules here, this is what we learned, that everything has to be cooked. You put kugo, has to be cooked. You put chulut, has to be cooked. Vegetable has to be cooked. You cannot put not cooked, you will bash it overnight. So this is according to Hananya.
This warmer is not able to cook?
No.
Doesn't have the power to cook?
No, not at all.
So it's not a high enough temperature.
Just keeps it warm.
Just keep it warm.
What is the temperature on? What is it in the
Whatever it is, you put it warm.
thermostat? What is it?
I don't know. 200, maybe 150. But it stay from the Erev Shabbat till tomorrow afternoon.
Warmer.
Just to warm it up. You eat how warm. That doesn't cook.
Right.
Nothing.
I know. So you don't need anything. It's good.
No, that's why you're not allowed to put the raw food.
You don't put warm. You're not allowed to.
Yes, there's no problems. You have no problem. It's fully cooked. There's no problem. It's like Hananya.
No, so what happens if you want to use it for putting a raw chum? They say you're not allowed.
You're not allowed to. The children has to be cooked already.
It won't work, you're saying.
It won't
Not
work.
allowed, you mean it's not, what?
No.
No,
It's
because
we
it's
stay warm.
only, it's gonna maybe do it.
It's gonna spoil it.
Instead of cooking it fully, you might be putting it a quarter only. It's not, it's
So it's
not
no
hot
good.
enough to cook, so you're cooking wrong in Shabbos. That's the problem.
But you're
That's
allowed
why
to
it's
take it
supposed-
off the fire and then put it back on, or in this warmer like that?
No, you have to make the children
What's a good
earlier
shadow?
when it's already
That's a good
done.
shadow.
I don't think catering doing it. Once you take it out, you don't put it inside back.
I don't think you're allowed to.
How come some people, we come here Shabbos in the morning and looks like people took kugel out Friday
You're
night.
not allowed to put it back.
If they held their hands, you could put it back in.
They know it is.
It-
It's a different story.
First of all, if you held your hand onto it, you definitely could put it back.
And this is fully cooked, the kugel.
If you held a hand onto it, you could definitely put it back.
No, we have a problem on Friday.
Shaila is if maybe even if you don't hold a hand on it, you could put it back. That's a shaila.
How about the bab?
I think if it cooled off totally, it was probably this.
We
they
don't
don't-
know. We come Friday, we put the kugel in the oven, right? We come Shabbos morning.
It's warm. It's hot.
We take out the kugel. Somebody took a few pieces. How do you took a few pieces? You took
Maybe
it out?
right before Shabbos, someone came and took a few pieces.
We don't know. Something happened on Friday night.
No,
So,
so,
We don't know if the guy took it out and took some few pieces and put it back inside, or
There's no locker.
there's no like we don't know. It's a mouse over here on Friday night.
I know who's the mouth.
Doesn't matter. The point is that
It wasn't
we
me.
don't know if the guy take it out and we put it back inside or just take out.
Someone was hungry. Just assuming someone was
I
hungry.
was there when the guy took
Problem is
it.
that the guy take it out. Okay, you want to eat, concentrate. But what happens if you put it back inside now? You put it outside and now you put it back inside. It's
Surely, I
problem.
was there when the guy took. He just opened the oven and he took 2 pieces.
Yeah, I'm sure he didn't
Okay.
take the whole tray out.
And I asked him, "What do you do?" He said, "It's okay, I can do it. It's okay." How about Baptist container? What's the story with that? You're allowed to leave it before Shabbat? Give us some insight.
It's dry if it's wet. What is the rabbi?
No, but you know the container. You want the distributor.
Yes, Rabbi Tziner.
You know what he says?
Yeah. It all started here at the shear.
Yeah.
I saw by Moshe they put like 5 shelf, and they have different sizes here, right?
Yeah.
It kicks it very nice. I saw this.
Very good. Baruch Hashem. Okay.
How you getting percentage? Start with this year.
He gave me a free one last week, a sample.
Okay. Make sure your wife use it.
We're saving it when we go away. We're gonna use it. Maybe we'll do it for some schnitzels or something. Keep it hot. Okay. So the kitzer, we have this interesting, this machlokes, the Chanani and Rabbanan over here. It's an interesting Rishonim to learn on this sugya because in the Rishonim you see how it's a real piece of Gemara where how each one understood every piece of the Gemara and interpreted their way. What's the maskana of the Gemara? Each one understands it differently, and they're going through the whole Shakavataya, and each one is pulling it their way. It's interesting how you can learn a Gemara different ways. So, Ma'aseh B'Kitzer, what we have until now is we have 3 valid, independent ways how you can leave food on the fire at a Shabbos. Koydem Kol, the reason why Chacham were Chayshish was Kashem Yechata B'Gecholim, which is an Isser of Havara B'Shabbos, L'Savaru Eish B'Chol Mishizechem Yom HaShabbos. And then we have Shashash Yechata, and 3 ways how to deal with it. One way is to leave the food Maichem Desoy on the fire. The other way is to do grufa or ketuma, to shovel out the coals or put a thin layer of ash over it, which today in modern times would be put that piece of metal or silver foil over the fire, in between the fire and the pot. The third way is what we said, basar chai, putting up a raw piece of meat in a crack pot, a slow cooker, right before Shabbos. And then each of these three are independent heterim. You don't need one together with the other. They're all perfectly valid heterim.
They have a grill, and Shabbos is 5 o'clock. 3 o'clock, I put on the grill, naked chicken. I'm allowed to take it out just before Shabbos and use it to eat it.
You're
It's
going to eat
cooking
it
before Shabbos.
You're going to eat it
For
before
Friday
Shabbos.
night,
Oh, for Friday night, but you're taking it off before Friday night.
just minute before Shabbos.
Not a problem. You don't need any heterim unless it's going, only if it's going into Shabbos. Your food's going to be sitting on the fire and Shabbos comes in, then we're worried you'll play around with the dials.
Even though it's cooked already, it's grilled already.
You have no problem. You're taking it off before Shabbos.
Right.
No problem.
Oh, okay.
Listen, another thing to point out, by the way, is there are some types of urns or warmers, hot plates that they don't have dials. It's a plug, you plug it in and it turns on. You pull it out, it's off. You have a lot of urns like that, hot water urns.
Yeah,
Like hot plate.
they
Hot
save a
plate.
few cents on the switch. Yeah,
David's business minded. And the others,
I've seen it.
and the others do what they do is they have a dial, but they only have an on and off dial. They don't have any
Numbers.
temperature. Again, they're saving money in some wires, that's probably in some.
Well,
The system is less sophisticated, so it's a cheaper system.
something else to break.
So Maisa, those don't need any heterim because it's not shaykh to lift up the fire. There's no way to lift up the temperature.
Right, it stays the same.
It stays the same. It's on or off, plug in, plug out, or on and off.
Mhm.
You can't make it low, medium, high. Such type of urns are not an issue. And even those that have the reboil dial, I've seen some people write, there's some urns they have on the top that is something
Reboil.
called a reboil.
Yeah,
You've seen those?
sure. We have it on.
Water or oven?
Reboil dial on the,
Yeah, it
the
keeps- so-
water urns.
Water,
Makes
yeah.
it hot, and then.
They have these ones that you plug in. I have it by me. You plug in and a little green light turns on. A red light turns
So
on. When it's ready,
kitchen now.
yeah, a white
Yeah,
one,
yeah, yeah.
the green light. They have a button reboil because some people they like their
Hot.
really hot. So they press that reboil button.
Right.
So I saw someone discussing, is there an issue with the reboil dial is this a problem? Does the water have to be cooked before Shabbos or partially cooked, Michoel desai,
Fully.
before Shabbos?
Yeah.
I don't think so because there's no dials we're talking in a case where there's no dials. Some of them have temperature
Actually,
dials.
there's a dial that
The
says
big-
Shabbos mode. Because they don't want to press the button that has the motor for the wire, right? You have on top, there's a button you press and the water come out. But on Shabbos, you shouldn't do it only by the pump. There's a Shabbos mode.
Oh, you're saying because there's a button to push the water to come out electric?
Yes,
button.
yes.
There's a label saying Shabbos mode.
Shabbos
Yeah,
mode.
Yeah.
I have it in my house now also.
Cool.
So I don't think the reboil constitutes a problem because the reboil dial only works once your water has been cooked. Before it's been cooked and you plug it in and the light is red,
No, it's
reboil doesn't do anything.
right.
So the reboil is only once it's fully cooked. Once it's fully cooked, you're not allowed to press it in Shabbos, but Chazal were never choishish that you're going to heat something which is a higher level of heat. If the thing was put in Michoel desai, it's enough. So I saw someone trying to make an issue with the reboil dial. I don't see any problem with the reboil dial. I can't understand it. I don't stand any issue with the reboil dial.
Well, what you hear when the water is boiling, so you don't use it. When it stops, you use it. You hear when
Yeah,
it's boiling.
yeah.
You hear the.
That's why they make the Shabbos mode because of that. The Shabbos, somebody gonna go ahead and Shabbos and do it.
It's a nice thing. There's nothing wrong, but you're not chayiv to do it. We always have to differentiate between nice things, And when I was younger, we used to put a piece of tape on the light in the bathroom, so you shouldn't flip it off on Shabbos.
By accident.
And things like that. You walk into a room, but you're half asleep, and
Yeah.
so you put on a light switch, a tape. some, you have over here in the shuls and other places, people have metal,
It covers.
Okay.
these covers, metal, plastic covers. Are you chayiv to put it on? You're not chayiv to put it on. If you don't want your lights being shut off, someone leaning on it, or someone being over an aveira, so you put it on. But it's not. There's no chayiv to do that, right? So the same thing over here with the Shabbos mode. On this specific Shabbos mode, I mean, it's different. There's Shabbos mode to protect you from pushing the reboil dial. Chazal will never choishish that we're gonna akidei kach. You're gonna forget at Shabbos to do your reboil. As you want to be shomer nafshay yirchik midavar ra. You want to protect yourself and have some little way how to protect yourself from touching it. You're feeling you're gonna come to make a mistake. Very nice. It's a nice midah to be commendable. Mishabea, give shevach. But we can't say this is a chiyuv to do this. And you're not chayiv to buy such an urn specifically and pay a lot of extra money. That's up to you. It's not something that you're chayiv to do.
You say it's not a chiyuv to put a cover on the switch, but isn't there an in of making a gather? You shouldn't.
In a chanami.
So that's the gather.
But we can't. We're not the one. Asum shmeretz l'mashmarti we're chazal. We don't have the koyach to make new gzeiris. Whatever gzeiris
you're making a gather
for yourself personally as a personal shunishi, it's something praiseworthy. But you're not obligated to do it because the gedarim chazal the chachamim al pi ha'torah sheyerucha leisasa midavar sheyidu giducha yaminu smile doesn't apply to to any ner mitzvah company that comes up with a new chap. They don't have the status of asum mishmeres and mishmarti. The Gedolei Hadoir, and specifically the times of Chazal, were setting up the Gedarim. We don't have a Sanhedrin today that could set up Gezeris for all of Klal Yisrael. If a certain specific community or a Rav feel that there's a certain thing which would be appropriate for people to do, they can definitely encourage the Olam to do it.
It doesn't differentiate whether it's a Yochid gather or a Rabbim gather. It says you should make yourself a gather.
Communities can make takanas on themselves. Communities could say that you can't come to our community if you don't follow certain rules, because the community you just like your own house. You could say you can't come into my house unless you're wearing this one with shoes. You could do whatever you want. It's your house. The communities can decide that we pay for it and you want to come. There's certain rules over here to be part of our community. You want to be buried in our Beis HaChaim, you have to wear the shtreimel, otherwise not letting you in, right? You have these type of things, Beis HaChaims. I don't know what they do. You want to go to Visionitz will have the Visionitz rules. You want to go to Litvisha and the Lubavitch, everyone has their rules. You want to come here, we want to know who you are and what you're paying and what community you belong to. They're allowed to do that, but no one's chayiv to take on these takanas. These are private takanas the community makes. The Satmar community makes a takana. We don't want you spending on a wedding more than a certain amount. It's very commendable, very nice. It's not mechayiv someone outside the community. You're a part of this community. You're not going to be able to get into a hole if you don't follow the rules.
But that has nothing to do with preventing the favor. The whole thing is the favor, and that's the rule that they.
But only we cannot decide rules that the Chazal were able to say that this is enough, rises up to the level of concern that we have to make an gzeira go klal yisrael on this inyan. We can't decide on our own that this is something we should make a gzeira all klal. There is no one today who can stand up and say something and all klal yisrael will accept it. You have no Sanhedrin. There's not one chacham today who can get up. The biggest gadol hadar today will come up and say, Moshe Feinstein b'dairei, Rabbi Chaim when he was here, no one could say anything and everyone will listen to him. There will always be difference of opinions. Sfardim, Ashkenazim, Chassidish, Litvish. So therefore, private people, it's a shevach to make certain safeguards to keep yourself away from an Aveda. It's a beautiful thing. But to say you're chayiv to do it, only after the Chasimas HaTalmud, after the Gemara was closed, there's nothing binding all of Klal Yisrael as one unit. Everyone does different things. We can't, nothing binding in everyone. Svardim do one way, Ashkenazim do fakert. These ones hold it's a beautiful thing to name your child after your grandfather, after the grandfather while he's alive, and Ashkenazim think that's horrible. So we can't bridge this gap. the grandfather's so proud, and the Sephardi grandfather, and the Ashkenazi grandfather's horrified. So that's
Rabbi, we are seventh
Unless he
generation.
passes away.
We
then
are
have to
seventh
say
generation.
well,
I'm Sasson. My father was Abraham. My son is Abraham, and his son is Sasson. Seventh generation, the old.
Avram and Sasson, back and forth.
No, but third generation, Abraham, Sasson, Abraham.
Mhm.
And Baruch Hashem, for 7 or 8, and now it's going to be 8th generation. When my grandson will get married, he call his son Abraham. They all live 90, 95, 100, over 100. For us, it's Kavod Gadol.
Between a minute, chumrah and
Right.
a din.
Right?
The whole thing of.
Omra, there's nothing wrong.
Oh, that's what the gather is, that you shouldn't go over, it, that Khalili should.
In a Chanami, but you can't, but that Chumrah is also a siyag, but it has still this different status than a Gzeira and a Takonas Chazal. The Chumrah is a private Chumrah or a community Chumrah, family Chumrah. It doesn't bind everyone.
You said you should make for yourself, it doesn't say.
Okay, yeah, I don't have a problem.
there's no mechanism.
I don't. Maybe it's a say somewhere, not in the words of Simon Mishmeres and Mishmaiti, but maybe somewhere Susiyag or Torah. It was a directive for the Chachamim, but every person, no question about it, should safeguard for themselves and make. If they see this is something they're nichshal in, they have to be careful in it, 100%. But it's not mechayev other people. We can't tell mechayev kol adam liknois davar zeh and put it into your lights. I can't tell them that. I can't tell them that.
The Haggadah, we said,
You know, Haraya that a number of years ago wasn't around, right? This is a Haraya a number of years ago wasn't around. Not all the years where there are covers for the light switches.
No, but there are Gedolim that tell people.
It's a good
If you
idea.
have a sucker, watch your eyes. That's together.
Okay, that's a segula.
So that.
Agav, watching your eyes is something min haTorah. So it's anyways. But you're right. Telling someone to be ma'ir him skula is 100%.
There was a Rav in Korn I saw by Mala of Shalom. I never had it. He was very, very strong in Shabbos, in Ilchos Shabbos. So he didn't want to any chas. So he only drink coffee Shabbos that he make in a thermos before Shabbos and he keep it. That's it. Hot water.
Wow.
Right,
No.
right. Listen, you have a case. Someone took upon himself a personal chumrah, but it's not mechayiv anyone to make in the thermoses.
He wouldn't take out water. He wouldn't take nothing. So, also, when you go to the mikveh, no matter what the weather is, he never use the towel. Maybe the chash of
Never used the towel.
Srita.
But
What
don't
else?
forget, he didn't
So
impose
you go to
these
the
things
mikveh,
on
if
anybody.
it's cold winter, you'll sit 10 minutes alone till this beard will be dry and then it'll go hot.
He didn't use a towel at all. He didn't use for the beard.
Shabbos.
So there is something called Kabbalah from that Rizal that you're not supposed to wipe off the mikveh water on you. Chassidim Amol, Chabad Chassidim in Russia were makban on it. Came to after the war, things were different, but before the war, they did not dry themselves after the meal. Put on their clothing without drying yourself.
By the way, I actually do something similar. Because of Rabbi Rozov, I just started going to the mikveh, Erev Yom Kippur. He encouraged the significance. And somebody explained to me that you lose some of the tahara if you take a shower afterwards. So I decided not to take a shower after I dip into the mikveh.
You know, I started doing it. I'll tell you why. They use chlorine.
Yeah.
Keep down bacteria. And, whatever.
Some people are sensitive to it.
And there are people, I realize there are people who wash off the water after they take a mikveh in order to minimize
Right.
the chlorine.
Some people, the
absorption.
skin is very
Of course.
skin is sensitive and it's an
Of
issue.
course,
Yeah.
you-
Some people have to do it.
right also.
I remember that.
Rizal Taka didn't. Rizal did not wipe himself after the mikveh.
Huh?
Okay.
See?
I learned that years ago. He did not. He got dressed with the water wet.
Right. That's
It was
probably.
my Chaim, it was the best mikveh in the world. I went to the water.
I heard from an older chassid, the Chabad chassid, the Yamim Malachovsky. He was from the Russian chassidim. Should be gesund. So the truth is, I don't know if it was him or it was his friend. Hillel Zaltzman, the one who wrote the book Samarkand. I think it's from the book that I saw it, that he was saying how when they were in Russia and they only came out in the 60s, they came out from Russia.
Right. 65.
Oh, exactly what years? So they came out. So some came out maybe in 72. Those Russian families that were stuck, they never managed to leave after World War II, when they had this certain. We spoke about it once, how they had these trains and how they managed to leave. However, they were stuck in Russia. There were only certain times later on that the Soviets allowed people to leave, certain conditions. So they, when they eventually came, now all the time that they were there, they were makbid on all the chumras that the Chassidim were makbid like all along. They never became Americanized. So they were sitting in Russia the way things were. I mean, everything was different because most Chassidim had left, and most from Yidden, there was very few left. Anyways, they came out, and he was writing how he saw how people were. He was in the mikveh and he saw the Mendel Futterfast, the famed Chassid Mendel Futterfast, who was actually spent a lot of time with them in Samarkand. He was also stuck there for 16 years without his family, and he eventually left. He left earlier than them. He got out, and when he came, and then when he was in the mikveh, he saw a Mendel taking a towel. So he was like shocked. The Mendel Futterfast, now he wipes himself after the mikveh. So he saw him looking at him. He says, "Listen, it's different times. It's not the same anymore."
When I was a kid in Chabad, I used to go to mikveh spend time with him. He never used the towel.
No.
I'm not gonna let it.
So maybe the story was a little tzimish.
Or could be years later. But when I was a kid, I remember I used to go with him every morning.
Really?
Yeah.
Do they have towels?
Rub Mendel Futterfast?
Yeah.
They did not have hot mikvahs then, by the way. Mikvahs were all cold. Not only they were cold, the mikvahs had little kachkalach going around in the mikvahs.
Little what?
Ducks.
Dry himself off.
And it was very Hamish. Feathers and dirt. Wasn't nice with a filter. Filter something after the war.
What I'm thinking about doing is going to the mikveh. not dry
Even if it
off
was
the
indoor,
mikveh,
there was no filter, no
davening to dry off.
No, you could use it.
indoors in the barn. I don't know where it was. The outdoors.
Do you know that they found a structure that they think is a mikvah in the basement of like a palace or something in Japan?
Could have been a bathtub too.
And no, they speculated, but it looks exactly like.
If it's in Japan, I would think it would be a bathtub, no?
No, but the history,
Mhm.
of that area was that Spanish quote unquote missionaries came in that area, and they might have had some Jews. They had couples, Jewish couples,
Thank you.
who were going to use it, and there must have been a rabbi,
Interesting.
a converso or something, but a rabbi.
There were some groups of
Just a
in
few
these
days.
Asian places, some people that claimed they were Jews from years
Oh.
ago.
There were a lot of
Refugees.
escaped Nazis that went to Japan.
Right.
Yeah, no, they went to Kobe and then they went to Shanghai.
It was a segment from Ovid Yeshiva who escaped,
A lot of yeshivas, a few yeshivas.
and it was another yeshiva.
It was mainly, there was the Mirror Yeshiva,
Mirror.
Yeshiva's Chachma Lublin, and there was a small contingent of Chabad, and then there was all thousands of refugees.
By the way, the Frierdiker
There were thousands of refugees.
begged the Bochurim to come to Vilna so they could
Right.
escape.
Right.
They
Told
could
them
be
to
free.
send
And
letters.
many of them, and the Bochurim made lists of them.
Right.
Lists, and they didn't follow. They didn't listen.
People went home, but they did.
They just didn't listen.
Well, Sugihara, that was the story with Sugihara.
I just got a picture from that family a few days ago.
The children were honored. There was all these dinners and everything.
Incredible. So the thing is, it looks like there may have been a Japanese.
Children of
And he himself, was he ever honored, or he passed away?
Who was that? Who?
But I think the families, there were letters.